am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. Where's my place in your great plan? Oh Lord, help this man. Lord, I am just a simple man.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على الرسول الصادق الأمين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, welcome to a new live episode of our program, One Step Closer. As you know, this is the beginning of the week, so I hope you enjoyed your weekend and you were free of me telling you and reminding you of things. But alhamdulillah, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make them of benefit, inshaAllah. We begin a new week and a new beautiful day in the month of Ramadan. I wrote a few days ago on my Facebook page a message that I don't know if you feel it too or not, but I said that I feel that this is my best Ramadan ever. I feel, alhamdulillah, that this is my best Ramadan ever. I feel that I'm closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my worships and in all types of things, more and better than any other year. Alhamdulillah. I don't know what's the case with you. I had quite a few brothers and sisters reply to that message and say that they feel the same way too. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to always make the Ramadan that we're in the best Ramadan ever. The last Ramadan that we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with, to make it the best Ramadan ever.
Ameen.
And as you know, alhamdulillah, I'm joined in the studio by a very, very special guest who said Ameen. And we're talking tonight about anger. But I have a sheikh who's a smiling sheikh. So it kind of doesn't really work, but we'll see what we can do. Inshallah, Sheikh Zaid Ansari, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khairan for taking the time to be with us.
Barakallahu feekum. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, dear brothers and sisters, we're talking about anger. As I said, I'm talking with a smiling sheikh, so we'll see how things go, inshallah. I guess smiling and being calm is really what we're trying to achieve when we talk about anger. We're not talking about anger itself. So in this extended discussion segment, inshallah, we'd love for you to join us and share your thoughts. Today is kind of a relaxed episode. Last week was a little bit more intense. We had a lot of phone calls last week that I wasn't able to get to because of time restrictions. So I made an intention. I said, you know what, I really, my dear brothers and sisters, value your phone calls, your input, your questions, your comments. So we're going to open it up to extended discussion segment. So inshallah, you can join us in the calls, and we'll try to take as many calls as we can with Sheikh Zaid here, inshallah. So give us a call, inshallah, at 002-0238-555-248 or 249. Again, the number is 002-0238-555-248 or 249. And also through Skype at Huda_TV for free, inshallah, Huda_TV. Sheikh Zaid, first of all, it's a pleasure that you're joining us on the program. You're coming, of course, from the United States, and it's a great pleasure to know that you're with us in the program. Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah, good to be here.
Barakallah feek. We're talking about anger. Anger, something that a lot of us deal with on a daily basis. Many of us deny it. We deny that we have an anger problem. Many of us don't know really what's the best way to express our anger. So I want you to begin by telling us, is anger a natural part of being a human being, or is it a really bad habit and a really bad manner that we should totally get rid of?
Bismillah wa alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi min wala. Anger, alhamdulillah, is a part of our makeup. But it has a mahal, it has a place. One of the things I did when I was thinking about this talk, I looked at the famous hadith, in the 40 hadith, where the man came to the Prophet and he said, Awsayni, advise me.
Yes, give me some advice.
He said, give me some advice. And the Prophet responded to him in a very terse, concise way and said, La taghdab. Don't become angry. And he repeated this several times. This is a very high wisdom of the Prophet's prescription to this individual. Some of the scholars said this is because this man was known to become excited and angry. but others said it's more general for all of the ummah. Anger, you know, one of the things I read, Sheikh Fawzan, Hafidullah, he said it's anger is kislatain, shirajatain, tubi'ah. It's a natural characteristic that we have. One of the characteristics is rada, is to be pleasant, and the other is to be angry. Many times people have unresolved issues that they lack the personal communication skills to articulate what's bothering them. And so, you know, you can find a very simple incident where somebody misplaces something and then someone explodes. And it's not this insignificant thing that made them explode.
It's all the baggage.
It's their baggage. It's their unresolved issues. And so one of the things that we have to be aware of is what the Quran, I think is in the Surah Al-Shura, tells us to do. فَمَنْ أَفَّى أَسْلَهَا فَأَجْرَهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So if life hits you in the head with a brick, or a relative, yes, a figure of expression,
exactly.
Or you know, you have a traumatic emotional event in your life that occurs from someone you know, someone you love, someone that's close to you. This tendency to hold on to it and to involve yourself in this emotional internal discourse about who you are, what it means to you, who they are, produces sometimes rage, if not anger. So the Quran tells us the way to get rid of this anger is to pardon and be the first one to make the step of reconciliation. Reconcile with that person. Let it go. You know, this is from the qada. This is something that has been decided that happened. And we cannot reverse the qada, the decree. It's gone. So the Quran tells us with this, the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pardon, reconcile, and your reward is on Allah. Let it go. Be the one that takes the step to mend the breach. One of the things that medical science is now finding out about hypertension, weakened immune systems, stress, a lot of this is caused by anger. Not having a place to dislodge these unresolved conflicts.
SubhanAllah, the emotional state of a person really has a great influence on their physical state.
Everything.
Looking at a person who, mashallah, has you know, all types of diseases, that could the root cause of them could simply be the anger that they have inside of themselves. What is? Let's define anger. How's anger different from being sad or being mad at something? Anger is that like a higher level?
Anger has a direction. You know, being sad, depression, sometimes is a inward expression of sadness, and it affects the immune system and affects the human being psychologically and spiritually almost in the same way, but it's inward. Anger is directed outward, and it usually has an objective of intiqam, or, you know, fighting, or conflict, or argument, or nasty words.
When we say intiqam, we mean revenge.
Revenge.
Right? There's revenge involved in it.
Revenge involved. So, and then this anger is directed outward towards some object. And that object could be a loved one. It could be where you work. It could be surround the things that are close to you. But it's usually this friction between your perception of the event. You know, we have narratives that we perceive, we tell ourselves.
My story doesn't necessarily...
This is what this event means.
Yes.
You
My
know,
story doesn't necessarily mean that this is the story.
exactly.
It could be my interpretation of the
Mine
events of the story.
is how things occur to me. You know, it's not. There's a one guy that said something very nice that I like to use at my work. It is not what I say, it is what you hear.
Yes.
So I have to be careful about how I speak to someone, tone, the affect, you know, the relationship that is pre-existing. That affects people's ability to process anger and to understand events. One of the things that occurred to me when I came to Egypt 3 years ago, how angry everyone seemed to be over little things, you know, constantly blowing horns, flipping people off in the car, friction in standing in lines. And I said, this is very interesting, that there's this underlying anger in general, not everyone, but a lot of people possess this underlying anger. It's just not big city life, because you can go to some of the small places in Egypt and still experience it. But it comes from not processing years of unresolved conflict.
Are we talking about personal conflicts, or are we talking about political conflicts, especially in developing countries?
They range from the personal to the interpersonal to the political.
Let's take it back to the individual for just a moment, inshallah. We have a poll that we took, and we asked brothers and sisters this question, okay? Question is, when I get angry, what do I do? When I get angry, what do I do? 19% said, I yell. 12% said, I say bad words. And 69% said, I keep it inside. SubhanAllah. I think that goes along with what you're saying. Only a small number of the people actually let it out. Most people keep it inside.
Yes.
And then at one point, they just burst.
Yes.
And everyone eventually lets out the anger that's inside of them. Do we have, here's the thing. When the Prophet ﷺ was telling the man, don't get angry, okay, this is the most valuable advice that the Prophet ﷺ could give this specific man. And as you said, some scholars say that this is the best general advice that anyone can have, because of all the repercussions of being angry, of being mad, and all these things. Now, how can we do that, really? Because, is that really realistic in our times today? Like you said, we get mad over the smallest and the smallest of things. You did give us a few good solutions. You said, of course, the best thing to do is to pardon people. And also you looked at the root cause of the problem when you said that, it could be because we're hiding all this, negative emotions, all these negative emotions inside of ourselves, and they're coming out in this form of yelling, or this form of using bad words, or even if we keep it inside of us, it's still affecting us emotionally and physically. What can we do? We live in a time right now, some people say, especially in Ramadan, I get more angry than outside of Ramadan. How can we deal with our rage as Muslims, especially as Muslim youth today?
Okay, I think the number one thing is to return to the Book of Allah and the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a practical way, in a digestible way. It is hard by the yard, but a cinch by the inch. We shouldn't take this approach that we're going to solve all of our personal defects all at once. Anger happens to be one of them. And it's related to other kinds of personal issues. What we should do is understand what the triggers are. What makes me angry? As an African American, one of the things that I had to learn to process in my long years of dealing with anger, latent as well as manifest anger, was racism. Learning how to confront that without being viscerally, emotionally involved in that anger, to the point where it crippled me and I couldn't let it go. So that anger has to be, pulled out of, let's say, in terms of an image, taken out of your stomach, taken out of your chest, and put into your head and analyze what your triggers are.
And you have to first admit that you have a problem.
Yes.
I mean,
Well,
would you say that the majority of people are angry, or is it a small percentage?
I would say that most of the people are irritated and are stressed by the conditions in their life. And based upon their skill to deal with that stress and that irritation, it can either turn to anger or depression or to rage.
Allow me to take this phone call, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Brother, what's your name?
Assalamu
and, what
alaikum.
country you
How are
calling
you,
from?
Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
My name is Rashid. I am from Algeria.
MashaAllah, brother Rashid. MashaAllah.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak to you and all brothers and sisters in Algeria.
Thank you very much. I think that today your topic, it's very important, especially in Ramadan, because we see people, many people, maybe me with my parents. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, brother Rashid. Go ahead.
Hello?
Brother Rashid.
Hello?
Fears that there's a problem
Hello?
with Brother Rashid's call. Brother Rashid, try to give us a call back, inshallah. Brother Ishaq, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother.
Brother Ishaq, you call us from Nigeria?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Do you have a
Ramadan
question or
Mubarak.
you have a comment?
Yeah, well, actually, my question is, how can anger affect one's ability to worship Allah? Is there any impact of anger on one's ability to worship Allah properly? Or anger has no such impact?
Beautiful, beautiful question. Jazakallah khairan. The relationship between worship. We are in the month of utmost worship, the month of Ramadan. How does anger relate to our relationship, and what kind of effect does it have on our relationship with the worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. One of the most devastating impacts that it has on worship, it affects our khushu in the salah. Anger is a distraction. And by focusing on these objects of anger that we focus on, unconsciously or consciously, we're always in a state of disarray and conflict, internal turmoil. The heart's bubbling, the veins are pulsing. You can see, some people's veins in their head. They can't focus on, the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, until you let that go, anger, or the shaitan actually, stands between you and your Lord. So you have to at least in the ibadah, you have to resolve those conflicts before the iqamah, come to the musalla, come to the masjid, and place your attention on worshiping your Lord.
Beautiful answer. Jazakallah khairan. We have a video, a short drama video about two people being angry. Actually, one of them is being angry and the other one is receiving this anger. So let's take a look at it, inshallah, and we'll comment on it, inshallah. My dear brothers and sisters, stay with us, inshallah. Take a look at this video. I think it's pretty funny and at the same time reflects a lot of what we do. So let's take a look, inshallah.
Lord, I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. I'm just a simple man trying hard to understand.
My dear brothers and sisters, you know what this video reminds me of? I'll tell Sheikh Zaid, inshallah. It reminds me of road rage in the United States. This is what it reminds me of, even though there are two shopping carts, but it reminds me of the road rage that we see, and of course all the bad manners that come along with it. Something so insignificant, you know, what is this? Like, we're looking at a store that only has 2 people in it, okay? There are no one is there. It looks like it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or something. And the guy just bumped into him, and he's making this big deal out of it. He got in a big fight with him. SubhanAllah, I mean, the thing sometimes, Shaykh, that we don't think about when it comes to anger is that we're really violating someone's right when we're being angry with them.
Yes.
Especially not on our internal being angry with them, but the actions that we take, especially if we yell, if we use a bad word, if we actually move on further to physical abuse or violence. This person, even if they don't get their right in the dunya, then they're going to get their right in the akhirah.
You know, this video is, I think, indicative of the man who was acting out and using anger on the other man. Obviously has some issues that he hasn't resolved. And, you know, a fly on his ear or a fly on his gutra could tick him off, because there's some bubbling issues that he has. And, you know, we're not very amenable to discussing our issues with the people of knowledge, or discussing our issues with professionals. But there are wounded people walking around, and the wounds sometimes are self-inflicted, sometimes they're inflicted by organizations, institutions, the family, and people have not come to grips with those issues. So bumping his shopping cart to him, because of the additive or cumulative effect of what occurs in his life on a daily basis, is the straw that breaks the camel's back at 2 a.m. when no one else is in the store.
You know, I subhanAllah, I like that a lot, what you're saying, because subhanAllah, what I like about what you're saying is that you're going in depth in the issue. You know, we're not just looking at the surface. This man is angry, this man is bad, this man is wrong. You know, I mean, he is wrong and he's bad, but at the same time, taking a point to the other side, you know, if we're looking at the person, if someone becomes angry at you, how you should react to that. Maybe you should give him an excuse. Maybe this person has issues, you know, especially if we're talking within a family. Like if a husband is yelling at his wife all the time, or he's being physically abusive, or, you know, or things like that. Obviously these things are not acceptable at all in Islam, but in a way, of course, where you try to fix your loved one, especially even if it's a child, you know, being yelling all the time, you know, we need to understand it's not, I mean, it's not necessarily just this is how they are. It could be that they're dealing with some deep issues that we don't know about.
Yes. I've tried to adopt something. I don't use it all the time, and I'm not always 100% successful, because I get angry. But I try to use the expression, that's just who that is at this time, to put that person in the context to understand. They may not be like this before, or they may not be like this afterwards. But right now, in this moment, who I'm dealing with, that's just who that is. Don't try to impose an immediate change on them by reacting to their anger. The best way to absorb it, try to listen and understand it, and deal with it with hikmah instead of a reaction.
How did the Prophet ﷺ deal with people who were angry? When he saw someone being angry in his life, for example, his wife, Aisha radiallahu anha, in some instances she was angry. How did he ﷺ deal with that?
With hilm, with patience, with hanan, you know, with compassion, with patience, with forbearance. The other thing he told us to do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is to extinguish the fire of anger with wudu. When you see yourself moving towards that place where Your thoughts are running together and you can't make sense out of what you're going to do next because you're in this excited state and you can't articulate to your limbs the best rational next step. The Prophet said, go make wudu, put that fire out. If that doesn't put the fire out, cease moving around and go sit down. If that doesn't lower the flame and stop this movement towards this anger, go lie down. So these are very practical as well as physiological steps to reduce the internal tension that anger produces at the cell level and at the muscular level, just to go chill out. You know, make the wudu, get the sins off at the same time, and put the fire out, or sit down, bring the blood pressure down, bring the movement down, and if that doesn't do it, go lay down.
Beautiful practical advice, mashallah, subhanallah. I want us to think for just a bit about the examples of people being angry. I know, mashallah, you've worked in the U.S. prison system for a long time. Can you tell us exactly what we were doing there?
Well, I was a volunteer. We used our masjid had a dawah mission, and a few of us used to go in monthly to do talks and to counsel.
A lot of the inmates, I'm sure, had anger problems and anger issues, and maybe that was one of the causes that actually led them to be in the state that they're in, you know, to commit these violent crimes or things like that. What kind of things did you see there, and how were you able to change the people from there?
One of the things that I used in my work in the prison was a program that was developed that was called Thinking for a Change. And it's kind of a play on words. Thinking to change and thinking for the first time. Because people who usually find themselves locked up act without thinking. And then when they get locked up, they have time to think. You find this is why some of the highest conversion rates that you find in America, or reversion rates from kufr to Islam, is because people have a time to think. So a lot of the inmates, after coming to Islam, would sit down and tell you candidly, you know, okay, I was just moving into society out of my mind based on impulse and reaction and anger, because I never thought about the meaning of life.
SubhanAllah.
I never thought about why I was created until the first time I heard you. A brother told me once, I came in and I said, you know, Allah has created jinn and men except for His worship.
Yes. He has not created them for any other purpose except to worship Him.
He said, this is what put me in the direction of knowing what I'm doing here. All of his life he had been questioning, am I a gangster? You know, am I a player? Am I lazy? Am I all these other negative things? It caused him to be angry at everything.
Of course, because they're negative emotions.
Exactly.
Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek. We have Sheikh Rifat Muhammad joining us on Skype from Canada. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Marhaban ya akhi.
How are you, brother Osama?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah. I have Sheikh Zaid Ansari here from the United States joining me in the studio.
Marhaban. How are you, Sheikh Zaid?
Alhamdulillah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and reward you.
Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu fikum.
Ameen.
Ameen. Ameen.
Sheikh Rifat, your thoughts about the issue of anger. How can we as Muslims, especially as Muslim youth, be able to control this very big bad mannerism that we have?
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam wa rasulillah. There is no doubt that every one of us will get angry for maybe minor issues or big issues. But the best one among us is the one who will be very, very late to get angry and be very, very easy to get relieved when somebody talks to him and try to calm him down. So it is happening in our daily life. It could happen with your kids. It could happen with your wife. It could happen with you at work, with your colleagues or with your boss. So this is very normal act. that the person will get angry or get mad. Sometimes we get angry because of, we get sad for something that we lost, and if somebody talks to us, we are very mad. But the good person is the one who can react, is the one who can control his anger. Controlling his anger is the issue. Because there is no doubt everyone will get angry. But how to control it, that is the best way, is to solve your problem, or those who are getting angry always and several times at every day.
Sheikh Rafat, let me ask you this. I see a kind of like a little bit of a dichotomy here, okay? And there's no better person to ask than you on this issue. Now, you're saying that the issue really is not about being angry, it's about controlling one's anger. But then the Prophet ﷺ told the man who asked him, Awsini, in the hadith, give me advice, he said, La taghdab, he said, do not get angry. So, I mean, is there a conflict between, and I know there are ayat in the Quran that say to control one's anger. Are we not supposed to get angry at all, or are we supposed to control our anger when we do get angry?
Yes, the hadith of Rasulullah, it doesn't mean that the person will never get angry, but the person whenever he comes to his mind, or there is something happening in front of his eyes and he gets mad, he just needs to react with such way that doesn't increase his anger. That's why Rasulullah said, La taghdab, yani don't excessively get angry and get mad for things which is maybe easy or big. So the person at that moment, or in the beginning of his anger, he right away needs not to go more and more in his anger for minor issues or big issues. So there is no any contradiction with hadith of Nabi Sallallahu or verses in the Quran. So any person who gets mad or gets angry in any reason, he just needs to reflect in himself and remember that he's whatever happening surrounding him is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he just needs to deal with that. So you might approached by somebody who is really temper person, he's stubborn person, he doesn't listen, he doesn't really talk nicely to you, but you will treat to him as his personality. You will try to accommodate this kind of person. If you face, like in your daily life every day, lots of customers, lots of people who face you at work, people who, even at home, you will get mad with your children. But if the person gets mad with his children, that mean that he will go back and try to push them or to hit them or so, is not acceptable for sure. So the person just needs to relieve himself, try to think of the result of controlling oneself anger. It's for sure it is a very big reward for those who can control themselves. Our Prophet ﷺ, like you see, our Prophet ﷺ said, ليس الشديد بالصرع ولكن الشديد الذي يملك نفسه عند الغضب. يعني the most strong person among you is not the person who can defeat you or can put you down. No, actually it's the person who can control his anger.
Barakallah feek, Sheikh Rafat. Barakallah feek. Jazakallah khairan for your participation with us. Jazakallah khairan. SubhanAllah, such a beautiful statement. The strong person is not the person, with the big muscles, and he's the one who's able to beat everyone else. The person who's so strong is the person who's able to control himself when he's angry.
That's real strength.
Yeah, subhanAllah. We asked brothers, my dear brothers and sisters on the street, what they thought about the issue of anger. So let's take a look at their thoughts, inshallah, and we'll come back in a moment.
I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand.
If we really follow Islam and the Prophet ﷺ, we'll find that there's no reason to be angry, because in the end all of this is temporary and we're going to leave this world. But our generation, personally, I think that we get angry for personal stuff, and stuff that are like that has to do with the dunya and not with the akhirah. So I think that's something that we have to change.
Yes, sometimes I get angry, but not so often. I try to keep myself in control.
Anger, to be sad on something little small. You can interpret it as you like. I think it depends on sabr. On sabr, can you hold on or not? Do you believe it will be better or not? That is, and if you do it, you can solve it. If not, you can collapse.
Lord, I am just a simple man trying hard to understand.
Sheikh Zaid, subhanAllah, we only have a couple minutes left in this segment. One of the brothers mentioned something about patience, about having sabr.
Yes.
I think that's a very, very important component when it comes to anger. Your thoughts about that?
It's extremely important. Having patience is always connected to Iman. And this is always connected to understanding the qadr of Allah. And once we understand this unique connection between patience and Iman and qadr, and accepting that, whatever happens to the believer is good for them. If it's something that we like, then we're grateful. If it's something that irritates us, we're patient. As the Prophet said in this wonderful hadith, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this is only for the believers.
Only for the believers.
Only for the believers. So this beautiful patience is rewarded in so many ways. It has such a beautiful effect on the society, on the family, on the person, because it becomes the context in which people see how to interact.
Such a beautiful way to end this segment. I was really, really honored that you joined me on this program, and I hope, inshallah, that you join me on future episodes.
Inshallah. Barakallahu feekum.
Jazakallah khairan. And please keep that smile, because it's the best reminder for us not to get angry.
Allahu
Sometimes the words, are great, but the actions are greater.
I have to remind myself as well.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khairan. My dear brothers and sisters, what is the difference between the word danger and the word anger? And what is the correlation between these two words? I'll tell you after the break, inshallah.
Lord, I am just a simple man trying hard to understand.
There is an American sister who's very active in Da'wah in Egypt, told me personally that she traveled between Buddhism and Christianity and different sects. And when she came to read the Quran, she started by reading from right to left, Surah Al-Fatiha. She said, I swear, once I finished it, I fainted. I could not believe myself that there is such book that people were so negligent and ignorant about. That has to be the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she said, I accepted Islam simply after reading Surah Al-Fatiha and knowing
the first chapter, 7 verses.
7 verses.
Allah, the Arabic itself, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke the Quran. So this is by itself is a medicine.
It is the word of Allah.
It's a word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It goes into the heart.
It was not created, rather Allah spoke it out.
May your Ramadan nights be blessed with welfare and forgiveness. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan.
You can't do that because you do not know what to say to them sometimes. At least you raise up your hand and ask Allah, oh Allah, please give guidance to this brother of mine, the importance of following Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To follow our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam means you must understand his sunnah. Adinu Yusrun, Islam is a very easy religion, simple religion. So don't make religion difficult to yourself. I believe this hadith is very common to all of us. But the beauty part of this hadith, number one, it started by Umar al-Khattab saying, Sami'tu. Now again, I'd like to share with the brother and sister to understand the beauty of this saying of the companion.
Lord, I am just a simple man trying hard to.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على الرسول الصادق الأمين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers and sisters, anger is a very, very, very bad mannerism that if we don't get rid of, we may be in trouble on the Day of Judgment. We may be trouble in this dunya as well, with those who we love, with those who we deal with on a daily basis, and with society at large, and even with ourselves. I want you to look at this word right here. This word is called danger. Danger. A very famous word that we all know, danger. But the only thing that differentiates the word danger from the word anger is this first letter. Now, instead of danger, it's anger. Anger leads to danger. Danger in every single aspect of our lives. Danger within our own selves. As Sheikh Zaid said in the last segment, causing hypertension, causing all types of diseases inside of a person, whether they're psychological diseases or physical diseases. Anger, my dear brothers and sisters, causes a lot of danger when it comes to our family relationships. Relationships with our loved ones. Relationships with our children. Relationships with our parents. And we talked about parents a couple of episodes ago. Relationships with our spouses, with our husbands and wives and those who are closest to us. And let me tell you this, my dear brothers and sisters, you may get angry one time and then you may cool down. But while you are angry, you may say a word to a person who you love. They may cost you their love for your entire life. And may cost them to be hurt for their entire life from that one sentence or that one word that you said when you lost control of your own self and your own emotions. So my dear brothers and sisters, anger is not an excuse of the problems, about the problems that we face in our lives. It's a disease in itself. It's not a symptom. So what we need to do is to understand that and to realize that this is a very, very big problem. A mannerism that when a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said to him, "Awsini," he said to the Prophet ﷺ, "Give me advice." The best advice that the Prophet ﷺ could give this man is, "La taghdab." La taghdab. Do not be angry. And then the man asked again, maybe he didn't really get it. Is this really the best advice? And the Prophet ﷺ repeated it again and said, "La taghdab." And many, many times over the man kept on asking, and the Prophet ﷺ had the same answer and the same response. La taghdab. Do not be angry. That's why, my dear brothers and sisters, we call tonight's episode, "Do not be angry." Very simple. A very simple message, but something that is very hard to establish within ourselves and to control. The first way to solve this problem, my dear brothers and sisters, is to realize that you have a problem to start with. All of us, of course, get angry, but if you have excessive anger, where you always get angry over the smallest things in your life, and you hurt the people who are closest to you, then know that you have an anger problem. And begin solving it. And 3 ways, my dear brothers and sisters, that you can solve this anger problem that I came up with. But before I tell you that, let me tell you something very important. What we don't realize, my dear brothers and sisters, is that anger, being angry in itself, is a sin. Some people may think the results of the actions that result out of my anger are what causes me to sin. For example, if I yell at my mother, then that is a sin. The yelling is the sin. Of course it is. Cursing at someone after I get angry is a sin. But being angry in itself and being excessively angry is in itself a sin that we need to overcome. And we need to make tawbah for. Let's make tawbah tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, for every single time that we were angry. And let's try our best, as much as we can, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, to control this anger that is within ourselves, to find out what the root causes of it are, as we try to discuss today, and to solve them. And 3 ways, as I said, my dear brothers and sisters, to solve this very, very bad mannerism. You know when someone tells you have bad manners, you wouldn't accept that. But being angry is one of the many bad manners that you can have, and one of the most important and the biggest bad manners that anybody can have, because this bad manner is all inclusive of many, if not all, of the other bad manners that any human being can have. As we said, 3 ways. The first one is the fear of Allah's punishment. When you know inside of yourself that anger in itself is punishable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the results that come out of it are punishable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you know that you're going against the commandments of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "La taghdab," do not be angry, and then you get angry, you're going against the commandments of the most person that you love in this world, who is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So that is the first way to deal with our anger. The second way is contemplate for a second about the way that you look when you are angry. Something very practical. Contemplate for a second about the way you look when you are angry. When you're smiling, subhanAllah, you have a beautiful face. You would love to even look in the mirror and see yourself. But when you're angry and your veins are popping and everything like that, and your face is so red, it's not a very good sight. Especially if you're getting angry for yourself. Being angry for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something totally different. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself would get angry for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And his veins would pop out. And his face would turn red. But not for personal reasons, but for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem is today, the issue is reversed. Many times we don't get angry for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We hear the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam being cursed. We see the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being burnt. And many other things. We see our brothers and sisters in Syria, in Burma, in Kashmir, in Nigeria, and many other places being killed. And we do nothing about it, and we don't even get angry. But what do we get angry over? Personal, small things. Personal, small things. A little extra salt in the food. A piece of cloth that wasn't ironed. Someone who stepped on my sneakers. Very, very small things that are not worth it for us to be angry over. So as we said, the first thing to overcome anger is to establish the fear of Allah's punishment in your heart. The second thing is, take a look at yourself in the mirror when you're angry, or at least imagine yourself. You wouldn't want to see yourself in that way. Believe me, no one else wants to. The third and last way, my dear brothers and sisters, that you can overcome anger is to understand that everything that happens in this life is the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And no matter what you do, it will not change. But the only thing you can change within yourself is the way you react to it. And the way you react to it will eventually be your key, either to Jannah or to the hellfire. Anger is that serious of an issue. That is why we talked about it tonight on One Step Closer. Jazakumullah khairan. I'll see you tomorrow night. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. Where's my place in your great plan? Oh Lord, Lord, I am just a simple man, trying hard to understand. Where's my place in your great plan? Oh Lord, help this man, help this man.